This is Sergio and Cooper from Overtime Heroics. We are joined by special guest Dakota Bush, who is one of the newest members of the UFC roster. How's that feel?
Yeah, it feels amazing. I've been working 8 years of my life just devoted to training and sharpening my tools day in, day out, time away from my family and missing events, parties with friends and that whole shebang. And it finally paid off. And me and my wife and my son were watching this movie on Disney Plus called Soul. I don't know if you guys seen it or not, but it makes you kind of feel weird. It's an odd movie. The guy finally he wants to be a jazz player. And short story, he makes it finally. And once he makes it, he's like, "Man, I thought this would feel a lot different than this." And that's kind of how I feel. I thought it'd feel a lot different than what it does.
I want to start by asking this: how'd you get the call? Like, where were you? How did that come about? I know I've been tagging you in just about everything. Anytime anyone in any division would get injured, I was tagging you. Didn't
Yeah,
seem like that,
definitely.
but you finally got the call. How did that come about?
So it was a Saturday morning. I guess it technically happened late Friday night, early Saturday morning, but I had already went to bed. I woke up in the morning and saw I had like six missed calls from my manager, and then a bunch of text messages, and I knew what it was. It was just his initial text was just saying, "Do you want to fight in the UFC next week?" And that's the text I've been waiting for forever. But what really was the the dagger was the night before. Me and my wife and a couple buddies, we went to all you can eat sushi and ice cream the night before. So when I got the text and woke up and stepped on the scale, I didn't like the numbers.
Cooper, do you have any questions?
Yeah, obviously, I don't know if that's really how you envision that playing out in terms of getting the call. Um, but you know, what were your initial thoughts like stepping on the scale and realizing, hey, this is real now. I'm in the UFC.
Being there at the Apex, I was there before with one of my buddies. I trained with Jake Collier. I've been through that process with him. So I was kind of familiar with everything, doing the weigh-ins, the walkthroughs, and all that. I was so, busy with medicals when I got there, and fight week stuff as far as like green screens and you're trying your clothes on and whatnot. So it was so hectic. I didn't really, get to, for me to have much time to think about it and let it set in. But I felt like I belonged there, though. I made that walk, to the octagon hundreds of times in my head before, so none of that was new to me. It just felt right, I felt really good. Didn't have any nerves, surprisingly. More than any fight I've ever had, that was the calmest I've ever been.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit too, because I remember watching it live, and I'm close with you. I'm close with Austin, and I hate seeing guys I'm close to fight. It puts me in a weird spot. But in that first round, I was like, "Wow, you're comfortable." Like you. It didn't look like you were. It was your UFC debut. You said you didn't feel any nerves or anything like that. Describe, looking back on it, how you assessed your performance.
Um, you know, with what I was dealt, as far as a short notice, I'm in shape. I train all year round, but there's a difference of, being in shape and then 8-week fight camp shape. So with the cards I was dealt, I was just so thankful to be there. But the only mentality I had was, is for one, I'm going to show the UFC, that they made a good choice on signing me. And I want to put on a show and, leave everything I have in that cage. So, going back, I was pleased, there were some positions I wish I could have done a little better in, as far as like when I took his back in the third round and I couldn't stay there. But as far as, like striking wise and everything else, I know when I got a full camp, I'm better than that. So, um, I really have no negatives from that fight. It was just 100% positivity for me. And like I said, just knowing I did so well in that first round with him and on just 5 days. So, um, I was happy and pleased, and so was my coach and my training partners. And that's really all I care, who thinks about my performance.
Cooper, do you have another question?
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't. Dakota, I think you made a good point. You were pleased with how you fought, and I think everybody watching at home, especially because we knew it was your first fight, and you coming in on 5 days' notice. You looked great out there, and you definitely impressed. Is there anything mindset wise that you want to change going into this your sophomore UFC bout?
Actually, I would like to have that same mindset. I had no pressure, just knowing that I'm coming in on short notice. I'm supposed to lose this fight, on paper, but I was coming in to be the spoiler. I wanted to get that upset win, and it felt so good, not having any nerves, having 8 weeks to think about a fight and all the outcomes and scenarios. So I really like where my mental stage was for this fight. And if I could, repeat that with a full training camp, I think I'm going to be a tough person to beat come my next fight.
With the debut now in the rearview mirror, the pressure's off of a debut. You're in the UFC. What is next? Is it a quick turnaround? Is it I'm going to get a proper 8-week training camp in? I'm going to do things the right way. What is it you want next for your second fight?
Yeah, I definitely want a training camp. My past 3 fights have all been like short notice. My LFA bout in October was 3 weeks. The one in January was like 2.5 weeks, and then this was a week. So I just want 8 weeks so I can fully prepare for somebody, have a great gas tank game plan, and be ready to roll and put on the full show that I can do. But as far as a next fight, I would like to fight, like August or September. And then again, depending on how that goes, again in like December.
I love it. I think that's a great turnaround time wise. August gives you a few months to get back in the swing of things. That LFA fight, your last fight before getting signed to the UFC, that was emphatic. And to me, that's the performance that stood out. I mean, I reached out to you long before that fight, and I was like, he just made his mark. When you look back at that fight, do you think that's the fight that really stood out in the eyes of whoever was signing in the UFC?
Yeah, 100%. I think that fight really put a bug in their ear. They realized that I'm more than just a wrestler and a grappler, and that I can strike as well. And I think I showcased that as well, against Hubbard. And the LFA just gave me such a great platform to showcase my skills against super tough opponents, And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. That's for dang sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think LFA right now is probably the best organization for guys on the come up who are on the brink of the UFC.
Yeah, definitely. There's nothing out there that's producing, next level fighters like they are. It's just a no brainer for your guys if you're an up and comer to sign with the LFA.
Cooper, I'll go back to you.
Yeah. So you said, you wanted to prove that you're more than a wrestler and a grappler. Now that you've done that, do you feel that you have anything left to prove? Or are you, working for yourself and your team?
Yeah, I don't really feel like I have much to prove anymore. I'm where I want to be as far as, my goals. And now it's just time to kind of reassess them and get that first UFC win. And then I just kind of want to go on a streak, and rack up some wins in the UFC and make my name. But I'm not trying to, jump up through the ranks immediately. I'm just trying to take my time, take the right fights, whatever they want to put in front of me. I'm not going to deny, that's for sure. But I think they're going to do a great job with matching me with, someone that it's going to be great fights stylistically.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the approaches a lot of guys make the mistake of doing. It's like they get signed and then they're like, give me a top 15 opponent right away. And that's how they end up losing 2, 3, 4 fights in a row and get cut. And I like the way you're doing it. It's like, I'm not rushing it. I'm here now. Let's do things the right way. I love that. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just trying to stay here as long as I can. I don't just want to get here. I want to stay here.
I want to ask, I want to do like a little bit of a throwback here. When you look back at when you first started training, I'm sure you've done this in your head since you've been signed. When it's like, what advice would you give that guy now, knowing what you know now in this sport? I'm sure throughout the past 8 years, you've made mistakes that you look back and you're like, damn, why did I do that? What's the biggest advice you would give that guy?
It's kind of hard, to really give any different advice because, all those mistakes and errors and the fights I've lost and, the ups and downs, it put me to where I'm at. So the only advice I would, if I could go back, would just say, just trust the process, and stay grinding, even in this past 8 years, even my wife, there'd be times, I was out for a good while before my fight in October. And, she's just like, I don't know, should you think about, just working and not fighting anymore and, spending more time with the family and, maybe just giving this a rest. And 100% from the day, that I got serious with this, I knew 100% that I'd be in the UFC. There was never a doubt. Even when, even like my wife was trying to talk me out of it, there was no way that I wasn't getting to where I wanted to be.
Cooper, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I think that shows a lot of fortitude to not take your wife's advice.
Yeah.
But I think that speaks a lot to your mindset. You said that you envisioned yourself here, you saw yourself here. I think you showed that in your first bout, and I think, you know, I think that you'll carry that over. With that being said, what's your improvements that you look to make in your game? Obviously, you stuck with Austin Hubbard, he's been around the block a few times.
Mm-hmm.
So to get to that next level, what's your plan?
Yeah, he was just a game opponent. Like I said, I knew the whole coming into that fight. I've seen Austin, we both came up through LFA, at the same time. He won the belt, and I've always had my eyes on him, and I thought we'd meet one day, and I just had a feeling. And watching, him in the UFC and having that many fights, 5 fights before we fought, and just knowing that I belong there, he didn't change. Everything I hit him with, he had the same facial expressions for 3 rounds. He's a tough dude. I knew he's going to be a grinder. So going forward, the only thing I really want to get better at is, obviously being in better shape, for the fight, and just being relaxed like that. If I can be relaxed, I can really, let some awkward stuff go that I throw. I can throw some really unorthodox strikes and have some fun. It's just being relaxed and, having that motive to do so. So I'm just gonna keep training, sharpening my skills right now. Not really killing it, but just honing everything in, working on the basics, and just so I can be there, ready to put on a show. And hopefully, I think I'm a bonus fighter. I think I can rack up some bonuses.
I'll ask one more here. One of the most exciting things that's happening in 2021, we just saw it at UFC 261, is the audience is back. And I'm sure as someone who's envisioned competing in the UFC, that's one of the things that excited you. It wasn't to compete in an empty arena. It was to compete in a sold out capacity crowd, right? Having 15,000 people on their feet, like you said, you're a bonus fighter. I'm sure that's the noise you want to hear when you're fighting. How exciting is that for you?
I can't wait. That's all I've been thinking about is, they're letting fans back in, and my next fight, hopefully, you know, we'll be fighting somewhere with fans. The June 12th card, actually, you know, what Adesanya and Vittori's headlining. Jake's fighting on that card, so I'll be there in his corner, you know, and that's in Arizona, so they're having fans, I believe. And it's just going to be, you know, fun being in that environment again and appreciating it. You know, you kind of forget, you know, how awesome it was when it's just the normal, but now that we're going back to it, I think we'll appreciate it a lot more.
I'll actually add one more to that. You've been in the corner. You've been with Jake. You've also fought in the UFC. Do you feel more pressure as a corner? I know I talked to other people who corner, and they're like, when I fight, I feel no pressure, but when my teammate loses, you know, I get so nervous. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just the fact that, you know, I can kind of somewhat control what's going to go on in my fight, but I can't go in there and do what he needs to do, you know. I'm just
Yeah.
hoping that my advice can help him, you know, do what he needs to do to get the W. So yeah, it's a little more nerve-wracking when your training partners are going to battle.
All right, that's it for me. Cooper, do you have a last question?
Yeah. Last question. First off, I just want to thank you for doing this. And you know, you said there's a little bit more pressure as a corner, but do you think there'll be any added pressure with an entire arena? I can imagine chanting your name. Is there anything to that?
I mean, I think I figured out why I fight and why I do a lot of crazy stuff like shark fishing and, you know, just I think I'm an adrenaline junkie. I think we've kind of narrowed it down to that. So when the fans are going nuts, I think I'm just going to eat it up and it's going to be just a great feeling.
Have you had a chance to go shark fishing since your fight?
I will be going in we leave the 20th of May, so we'll be going down to the Keys and definitely be ripping some lips on some sharks and spear fishing, diving, all kinds of stuff.
Man, that's insane. That's like that cowboy Cerrone mentality of just, you know, like you said, adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for your time. I appreciate you doing this. We'll have to do this again, hopefully before your next fight, or after when you get your hand raised. Man, means a lot that you took the time to speak with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. You know, anything helps, you know, as far as both of us wise. And it's a pleasure talking to people that care and, you know, that are fans. And it's no chore to me. I like doing this.